welcome to another edition of Woody's.
Breaking news, latest edition. Here we are, Woody's Roundup.
Yeah. Hey, Woody.
Hey, howdy, hey.
Hey, I got a question for you.
What's that?
What does Ariel like on her toast?
Oh, what?
Marmalade.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like
You
it.
know what? I'm switching the game up. So
In this new edition.
in this new version. How you doing?
I'm really good.
You are?
I'm great. I'm actually, for those of you who don't know, recently we had a trip. I'm not gonna go too far off. Recently we had a trip and we think we saw a Bigfoot footprint. So
We think we know.
we know. I'm pretty hype about that. So
Yeah, it was pretty cool, you guys.
yeah, and we just got finished talking about it, so I'm still pretty
Yeah.
excited about it. So yeah, I'm doing great though. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, really good. So this episode, I thought we would talk about budget and how we sort of approach.
What's a budget?
Yeah. No, but just sort of how we get started in our planning, because I think that's a question that a lot of people have when they.
Where do you start? Like,
Where do you start? And even several times we have gone to that place of like, well, what kind of vacation do we want this one to be? Because we look at places, we don't live too far from the Outer Banks. We can pretty much get to the coast in about 4.5 hours from where we live, but then we can also head to the mountains and be there in a couple hours. So the vacation spots that are local are great in Virginia. We have a lot of really fun places to go, but Woody and I's idea of vacation is Orlando, Florida, and the Disney world, the Disney universe. We want to live in that when we go on vacation. And in another episode, we did talk about, sort of what that vacation looked like, why it was our favorite this last time we went. And so, but again, I don't do any of the planning. And that's so funny because you would think it would be the opposite. He does it all. So tell me about how you get started and sort of what it looks like to plan a vacation for us.
Okay. Well, first of all, I, above all else, I try to look at the crowd calendar. That usually dictates kind of when, like, because we'll be talking and it is like a pattern for us, and a pattern I don't mind. We'll start talking about Disney more and more and more, and then all of a sudden I get it stuck in my mind that I want to go to Disney. So then I end up looking at the crowd calendar. It's always these steps. We start talking. I look at the crowd calendar. I look at it like once this week, and then a week goes by, I look at it twice. And I'm like, okay, October would be a good time to go, or February would be a good time to go. And then that usually dictates when we go. Because we have a semi-flexible schedule with me, with us being self-employed and everything. So really we can kind of go whenever we want if the budget allows.
Right.
Okay. So I would say the crowd calendar for me is step one.
So that starts it. You look at, because you're not a fan of crowds.
No, I mean, I don't want to be an old curmudgeon yet, but like I have a problem with big crowds, as a lot of people do. It's not a unique thing, but for me, it's when I go to Disney, I don't want to be shoulder to shoulder. I just don't. Like, I want to experience it. I know whenever you go, you're going to experience lines here or there, but you can kind of help yourself out a little bit if you go this week versus this week. And that mainly is dealing with schools, holidays, whatever. Right? So yeah, that's step one. Step two is that, and this is where we have discussions, where what do we want the trip to be? Do we want it to be a true vacation where you have worked hard and you want time off, you want to relax, you want to be catered to, and you just want to take a breath? Or are you going to Disney to go to Disney? And I think there is where people, that's the 50-50 thing. People will, for us, this last trip was vacation all the way.
Right.
We had worked extremely hard. We had not been on a vacation for probably 2 or 3 years, honestly. And this last trip, in my mind planning, I immediately knew like I wanted to be take a deep breath. Let's get recentered. Let's take a week. No emails, no running around trying to do everything we can every day. It's a true vacation. So I think that's step 2 that you have to decide, when you want to go. 2, what type of vacation do you want to take?
I think that's really important. And I think that's what you asked me when you said, hey, I'm looking at these Disney dates. What do you think about, Thanksgiving, going for Thanksgiving? And in my head, I'm like, Thanksgiving, wait, hold on. That's a break for me as a teacher. I was like, but then I took a step back and thought, wait, what kind of vacation do we want? Do we want just nothing to do, relax, or do we want to go and hit the parks hard? And we have done both.
Yeah, we have marathoned it. And because, really, like you can, and I think that, I know this is a Disney podcast, but really for me, Disney is the perfect vacation spot because you can literally get everything. You're catered to for food. You never have to leave and go grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Like, it just has everything. So for me, it's like, if you want to go and push yourself to the limit, you can, or if you want to go and just take it easy, you could do that too. So this last time when I was planning, just to give you an example, that's why we only picked 3 park days, and we chose the park hopper option, just so that like I didn't want to go, because previous trips, when you haven't been to Disney for a while, you tend to want to go and just like run through everything. I gotta get every ride in. And then it's like, well, it's going to be there. It's fine. And so for this trip, I thought I want some days where we were literally just going to different resorts, or we hung out at our resort for the first time.
We took a nap.
We took a nap at Disney.
We took a nap on a Disney vacation.
Oh, and so it's like stuff like that. Like, are you going, and this is the only time you're going to go in the next 10 years?
Right.
Then you might want to, pack it in. But for us, it was like, okay, so let's get 3 park days. Then that way we could hit the parks that we wanted, get a park hopper option, because some of the parks we have found are just not all day parks to us right now. Like on this trip, we were like, I don't want to ride 8 rides there. I kind of want to go see the new Frozen ride in Epcot. After that, I'm good. And that's how it did. So then the other days were basically just resort days and park hopping days. So I think when you're planning a vacation, that those things dictate, how you're going to use your budget. Because honestly, everybody's budget is going to be different. But for me, I can save money by the park tickets.
Yeah.
And narrowing down, like, okay, we don't need 4 or 5 park days. We don't. Like we have just as much fun resort hopping now as we do spending all day in the park.
Right.
And also with your budget, like, are there special events like that you need to look at? Because for us, we ended up gaining an extra entry into Magic Kingdom because we got the Halloween party. Now, the cost has gone up with that, and it's almost as much as a park day ticket. So you need to, like, when you're planning your vacation, kind of look and be like, I can't really get there till 4 in the afternoon. Is it worth that to stay later, and crowd sizes and all that good stuff? So I think that is an important thing. You have to decide what you want your trip to be. And for me, for our budget for 2 people, and this is just talking, money wise,
right? We
usually spend the exact same amount on food every trip. Like it's usually around, I don't know, like $300. I don't know, like really,
that's a healthy budget.
Yeah, I mean that's but we really don't eat out at the big restaurants. We usually snack, which I love, and I eat at the cafeterias, and it's wonderful. And then our trips, I always look for the deals.
Yeah.
So I never go at it and like blindly book a trip. Like really every single trip we've gone on, it's always fallen on some percentage off for this room. Like our last trip, I looked at the crowd calendar one. I wanted a good restful trip, so we went to Coronado.
Right.
So I saw a window in which you got a percentage off of the room because that's the resort I wanted to go to with you. So then we picked that.
Right.
So, I mean, but if we were looking for like strictly budget, like if we wanted to hit all the parks, marathon it, I would probably stay at like Pop or All Star Music, one of the value resorts that you can come in way less. So it just depends. It depends because you won't be in the room 90% of the time.
Would you say so? And you answered a question, I think. But when you're looking at like spending money and you're looking at what's important. So some people, I would jump in and say some people think that when you go on vacation, like your family, my family, your mom always wants a t-shirt.
Always wants a shirt.
Your mom always has to have a take back.
Yeah.
And, my mom could go even without a camera.
Yeah.
She just isn't a keeper,
Yeah.
And I think that that's important too, is looking at what's going to be your merchandise and, sort of gift shopping. I will tell you this. It amazes me, the people we see and the things that they spend money on. And you're just like, wow.
I mean, they are literally carrying like 6 park
and
bags. And I'm like, what?
Know that is not, that these shops and these experiences are not getting any cheaper.
No.
But that was us the first time we went. We were buying frames. We were buying
Home
everything
goods,
because
dishes, forks. I'm getting on the plane with like a freaking frame that I can't even fit in my suitcase, and it was like, what in the world are we doing?
So what's important? That I think is so smart that you do, Woody, is that you ask what's important, and the blessing is that a lot of the times what's important is important to the both of us.
Well, and I think so one of the things is that I did not factor in as much as I should have this trip, right? I think there's different levels that you have to look at for your budget. And I think they all depend on each other. So you have to look at it as a big picture. But like one is travel, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've decided when you're going to go, you've decided what type of trip it's going to be. And by that, I mean like basically park days and what resort you're going to stay at. Now, your budget might dictate the resort regardless.
Yeah.
And all of them are nice. You can stay at any one you want and have a magical time.
Really?
I promise you.
Yes.
But for us, like there's just certain ones we want to experience over others, in that time that we're there. So I think the part that I neglected this time was the travel part, because in your mind, you think you're saving a lot of money driving for 2 of us, right? But by the time I factored gas from Virginia to Florida, and then something that I wish I could talk to Disney about is the parking at the resort. So if you drive to the resort, there is a parking fee of like, I think it was like $90 a day.
Crazy.
Something like that. So I ended up spending like $400, something like $400 in parking. And I just, it kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah, we were not aware of the parking fee.
And so for me, that was one of those things. Well, I should have bought an airplane ticket. Like I just should have done that because.
So was it parking when we first went? Remember?
I don't remember. I do not remember paying parking if we stayed at the resort. I could be wrong, but I remember the first couple of trips because we drove.
We have to look.
We flew the first time. Yeah. So just remember that when you're planning the trip, like just factor travel into it. And when I say that, there's a website you can go to that actually factors your gas. Like just type in gas mileage estimator, and it was on point. Like it got it. I typed in the model of the car, and it did a really good job. But then the parking kind of threw me a little bit. Like it was just kind of like, come on, that much? Like $25, I don't mind, but like it was getting up to like $100 a day. I think they're really discouraging you from driving to the resort.
Exactly what they're doing.
So, so like Laura was saying though about the merch, right?
Right.
I remember our first time going there, I was like just shoving stuff in bags because I thought I would never see it again. And I even made the mistake of like when we first would go on Main Street, like I was buying gifts entering the park. And so I'm lugging around these bags all day. And so it's like, keep that in mind too. Like whatever.
But we didn't know that you could easily have dropped them off at any store or concierge, and they're like, they'll take it to your room. And we didn't know that because we're just high on life.
Oh, I was like walking around clinking on Haunted Mansion with merchandise rolling on my feet.
I'll tell you, we had a great time though. I've never seen him more excited. Let's just put it that way.
Disney does it.
He'd never been to Disney before, and it was just so much fun.
It was magical. So I would say absolutely you have decided when you're going to go, what resort you're going to stay at, and your park tickets as the theme of your vacation, right? You've decided the travel. Okay, so you've decided we're going to fly, we're going to drive. Also, in the traveling thing, a small little detail that I've learned, the snack budget. Like, be prepared on that because I was not prepared for that. Like, I love to snack. And so over 12 hours, I'm stopping a lot, getting beef jerky, whatever else. So it's kind of like, just factor all those in your travel. Okay. Merchandise, right? I would say just be careful on that one. Because that one can get carried away really quick. And I'm speaking from experience. Our first couple of trips were that way. And I have since learned one useful tip is don't buy anything when you walk into the park. Wait till you're leaving. It's going to be there. They're not going to sell out. Trust me. It's going to be plenty of inventory there. So just don't go crazy when you first walk in. Because usually if you go around, take some rides, on your way out, you have probably forgotten about it anyway. And it wasn't that big of a deal. You know, now I am always a fan of a good shirt though.
Right.
However, we discussed this in another podcast. The key to that is go on to eBay.
That's right.
And get them like a third of the price.
That's right.
And these are like vintage shirts that you won't see at the park now.
That's
you know?
right.
So
I love that. And I love that also think about merchandise as, you know, what I tend to look at is like, I love a snow globe. I love, you know, ornaments. I love all these things. And honestly, they can break easily. They can, you know, Shop Disney is a great website. You can go home and remember what were the highlights of your trip. You know, did we ride, you know, Expedition Everest for the first time? So Woody, of course, has to get the Everest pin. And then, you know, we for the first time walked into Fort Wilderness and we're like, oh my word.
Yep. I had to have a shirt.
We hung out and we sat by the fireplace and we, you know, we walked around this resort and we had an experience. It was like, man, we love Fort Wilderness. We're coming back. And then of course Woody wants the t-shirt and I was like, of course you need to get this, you know? But we didn't buy a Coronado Springs t-shirt because it was like home. It was like going back home to Coronado, but it was the experiences, the what doesn't leave your mind, the lingering flavors that you know, that you think about. Those are the things that mean the most to me, rather than the first thing I see is the Rapunzel snow globe and I gotta have it because it's my favorite. But if you think about specific merchandise to that specific trip, I think you'll save yourself some money.
Well, and I think too, the more you go, at first I really didn't appreciate the magnets and pins. Now, those are the things that we fill up our bags with. Like we'll come home with like one bag and it's like of the pins that we experienced or a magnet, which are small things and they help this is just a personal preference, but I would say for merchandise, I mean, unless it just drives you, you know, just be careful looking at it because I mean, speaking from experience, I got totally caught up the first 2 times and was just like going crazy with stuff. And now I go and it's like when we look at something, like we really, I don't know, we kind of plan better.
Well,
you know?
We're selective, I think, too. And the only thing I'm not selective on is a Rice Krispie treat.
Yeah. Okay. So now you bring up food. This is where I really believe it will make or break your budget,
Yeah.
and you can go out of budget quicker than anything because everything else is pretty much dictated by your paycheck, right? Like you look at the resort, you're like, ooh, I'm not going to Fort Wilderness. That's $500 a night. All-Star Music, here we come. That's been us, okay?
Yeah.
Several times, so don't worry about it. And the park day tickets, like again, like you're like, well, maybe I can only afford 3. That's enough, but maybe you won't find. Okay, food is something that always kind of creeps up on you. It's kind of like traveling. It kind of creeps up on you before you know it. And you look at your budget and you be like, man, how in the world? We spent $500 on food. It's 2 of us.
It's like TJ Maxx.
We have eaten 16 pretzels. This is crazy. So I would say your food, I think the first trip we went on, we did do the meal plan or the meal.
We did.
What do you call it? The meal, whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's the dining plan.
Dining plan. Thank you. We did do that. And it was very useful. I am a kind of, I don't know, like when you start introducing numbers and limits to me, I tend to freak out a little bit. So every other time we've gone, we've never done it since.
Y'all, he was talking about we only have 2 snacks. We only get 2 snacks.
2 snacks.
Quick service.
No,
Which one can we use?
no, you cannot have a drink right now, Laura. So
It was nutso.
So it's like I don't like stressing, and that
And at
stressed
the
me
end,
out.
we had so many snacks left over.
Oh my gosh.
The lady at the poor gift shop, she was like, that counts as a snack. That counts as a snack. And we were,
You need 10 more snacks. I'm like, ma'am, I'm getting on a plane.
I'm sorry.
I would really, if you're a family, I would strongly consider the dining plan.
I don't think so. I think you can save money without it. This is where
I don't know.
This is
I
where
think,
we disagree.
Yep, I disagree because
No, you can
You
pack-
go ahead and then I'll. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, we're getting a little bit heated. I think the dining plan is a courtesy. I don't think it saves you money. This is where Woody and I disagree, but I like his opinion on it, and I definitely want him to share that. For me, this year, I packed Gushers for us in our Disney Go bag. I packed some pretzels. I think we had the room was like really close. I'm sorry, the bus stop was really close to the cafeteria, and the cafeteria I'd grab a couple bananas for us, that were sort of complimentary, and I would sort of stack us up because I knew he would say, "Nah, I'm good. I don't need a snack." But then in 25 minutes, he wants a snack. So it's like my child.
Snack
I know
and
him.
soda.
Yeah, yeah. So we sort of eat when we're hungry, and that is what saves us. I love the Goofy's Candy Company. So like, of course, every time I would walk into, this is before me, the new me's a little bit better, but I would get a bag of circus peanuts. I would get a bag of circus peanuts. I would get a bag of circus peanuts because I'm like, hey, we're going to wait in line. We might as well have circus peanuts. But could we use those as a snack the first year?
At the first time, yes. Certain candies you could.
Yeah. So you could, it's changed. And I think that's why I feel like you and I differ on that, because I could easily fix us a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in our room and then take it with us. If you're a family, that's what you want to do.
Well, and I think that depends, though. See, I think that depends on whether you drove, what you were able to bring with you. Like, because, I mean, there really is no easy grocery store to go to. Some of the resorts, though, do have like a mini grocery section now, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But I think, for me, especially the last couple of times not having the dining plan, like, Laura and I, we really don't go out to eat to the big places. So like an entree meal, it doesn't really, like, we don't take advantage of those. We are really kind of we go to the cafeterias, we get snacks.
And we don't drink a lot of alcohol at all.
No. Yeah.
So
it's
that's not important. Like, the Disney dining experience is one of legend, but we tend to want to have that money for, a Haunted Mansion t-shirt
or
rather,
popcorn bucket.
which do not skimp on the popcorn. Let's just be honest. Get you some popcorn.
Delicious.
It is so good. So I think, again, it's all about you. It's all about tailoring it to you, because we would rather spend our money on something we can bring back tangible than sit down and eat. But I think that's going to change. I think the more we go, I think we're going to want to eat in Epcot more and really plan that to sit down and watch the fireworks while we're eating at the French Cafe. You know, that's kind of what, sadly, I think I'm dropping it on him right now. Like, I want our next experience, our next vacation to be more centered around experiences than
I agree.
items.
And I think for as far as food goes, yeah, ideally you would love to bring a cooler full of stuff and take snacks into the park and do that. That is the best way. Yes, because a drink is like $2 or $3 for a bottle of Diet Coke.
Did you say $2? Because it's
$3.59.
$3.59
Yeah,
for a bottle of Diet Coke.
So yes, ideally, absolutely plan ahead. However, I think that like if you're going to go and you want it to be easy, and the two of us, it's always tricky. It's even tricky going grocery shopping for us because we tend to have food left over, it goes bad, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But a family, I think if you go, you should consider the dining plan, especially if it's one of your first trips, because it's super easy because the money's on your Magic Band. You go, beep, beep, got the snack. They tell you how many snacks you got left and you're done. But for us, like for me, I think towards the end of the week, it's like, how much have we spent on Diet Coke? Like, it's like, I mean, I could have bought like 50 6-packs of Coke up here and then down there. So just keep that in mind because I never prepare food wise. And Laura is great at it, but like, I'm always like, nah, it's fine. We'll go. And then I end up going through 3 of them. I've spent $15 in drinks and it's not even lunchtime yet. So I think that you should consider the dining plan. I think especially if it's your first time or first couple of times going, it just takes the stress off. And you do get a pretty good deal. Like
you do.
You really do.
And there's different tiers.
Yes.
Now.
It's not just one. It's like.
Right. You can do like one that includes 2 snacks a day plus a sit down. You know, they call it quick service versus table service, you know, versus snacks. So you can even tailor the dining plan to you. Just check that part out, you know, really look into it. Does that fit your family or does it not? Or if you're a couple, is that something that you guys focus on, which is really exciting to do? I would say this, with the dining plan, we would seek out, you know, different quick services. We would try to eat at different places. And we are going to do an episode where we sort of round up the restaurants around Disney. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. Why we pick the ones we pick, why we tend to splurge here and not here. So we'll have that episode coming up. But food is important. It is, when you go to Disney, for us, there are our must-haves. And we've talked about this. You have to get a Dole Whip. This year, Woody went out on a limb. And he always does this, and I think it's criminal, but he gets a lime and raspberry.
I got the one at Animal Kingdom.
Reds.
The King.
It was like Reds.
And it had a touch of like coconut rum or something in it. Something like that.
Yeah. It had like a Lion King theme, but it was, oh boy.
It was delicious. Now, I will not get the alcohol version again because like.
It was $11.
I really don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, it didn't. I'm all about the taste, and I think that I was sold because it had coconut rum, and I saw coconut. I didn't give her the rum part, but I think I think the dining too. Like for us, the first couple of times we went, when we did have a dining plan, like you're right, we kind of chose restaurants because not that we knew they were covered, but it was almost like you had paid for a gift card,
right?
But you had paid for it, you know, so it wasn't like it was given to you, but it was like. You know, you seek out a restaurant because it's like, well, I have to use this, so why not? And then when you don't have a dining plan, I find myself, well, what's the menu look like?
Right.
No, let's get a hot dog instead. Can we split the hot dog? You know, so like, you know, so it really goes back and forth. It's like, what? But I think the more you go, the food is it's just as much as the park itself.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, you really have to decide how much you're going to spend. And I would say really carve out enough to go to one of the nicer places and sit down and experience it, because I wouldn't say we've sat down at the really nice places.
Right.
I would say some of the ones, and these are not by any means like the top level restaurants, but for us, they were really nice. Like, Be Our Guest. Like, that was an amazing experience. It was very romantic. It was just sweet. I loved it. And then my favorite I wish this was a franchise everywhere. It was a Sci-Fi Cafe.
You
Like
love
that place, like there are just certain places that just fit your vibe. And that is my vibe. Like that is it. And that was one of the ones that I just thought was like, man, this is worth it. Like,
Well, I think too, because when you sit down, when you do table service Disney style, you are losing time.
Yeah.
So in your brain, you're like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Okay, you got to get in line. I want to, we can get on Mine Train. Look, that's your brain is like, I don't want to eat because I'm missing something. Whereas the Sci-Fi had it all.
oh,
you got,
it had the
you
movie.
got,
It
yeah.
had the car. It had everything that I love was just there.
It was like being on a ride and eating at
and
the
a
same time.
drive-through movie theater. So, yeah. So I would just say I think everything else, if you're planning a budget, it will fall, and I know this sounds weird, but it will fall within your budget.
Yeah.
Like either you have the money for this resort or this resort, and then either if you want a vacation, I would suggest not going to the parks every single day because you will leave and not be able to walk. Like you put in that many miles. I think that will be your deciding factor. And travel, I think that again is up to how much you want to spend. I would look at everything like I did not this past year. I would look at the gas, snacks, parking, because parking is a huge factor. That's another $400, $500. That's a plane ticket.
It's unreal.
So I think everything that you can kind of, the one that you adjust is the food. I think that's the one that you can kind of, the food and merchandise,
Yeah.
But see, merch to us is like, we really don't spend a whole lot in merch.
Right.
We really don't. So food is our like, all right, how much do we have to spend? Okay, we can eat on a budget if we need be.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do great. Or if we have extra, then it's like, okay, yeah, like I would like to eat at this place. We have not eaten there yet. So I don't know if that really is a budget, but like that's how I approach planning the trip. There's like a set of questions that you have to ask yourself, and then that can help you better utilize the money you have to spend.
I like it. Well, thank you, Woody. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Oh, you're most welcome. Anytime you need to dive into my wealth of knowledge, please
Here
feel
we
free
go.
to call me up.
Cut him off. Where's that sound guy?
We fired him the last episode.
Oh, we did? That's right. Hey, thanks you guys for joining us, and join us on our next episode where we will resort roundup and possibly restaurant roundup, we hope. So thanks for listening.